Hello everyone, this is Ross from Retro Dream Beam. I'm an eBay seller full-time. I've been doing this with my fiance Netta for more than 3 years now. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm about to go into what we're shipping out today on, is it Wednesday? I think it's Wednesday. Kind of like our slowest sales day for February, but the whole month was pretty good, so it wasn't hard to eventually have the lowest sales day, if that makes sense. But then I woke up into a lot of sales, so technically there's still like the back end. You guys see the video for, excuse me, it's the second half of yesterday and the first half today. All right, but we're just going to jump right into it. First up is this. This is going to be like a police die-cast car right here, just like a generic one. Well, it's like a plastic right here. It's like silver with like a bunch of blue on the top there. This ended up going for $6.99 plus shipping. Everything's going to be plus shipping, so it'll save us the time. A lot of people like to collect various different die-cast cars and stuff. This came with the lots or the flipper where we got a bunch of police cars and ephemera or tchotchkes, just a bunch of police stuff. They got a unit that was all police stuff. All right, next up is going to be just regular 6 plastic board game pawns, 6 different colors. These ones kind of have some ridges on the middle. I couldn't figure out what game this was. I also took pictures of the bottom, which is important because certain people like different felt things on the bottom, especially for chess pieces as well. And then there's these like 2, it's kind of like these like lightly wooden colored dice right here. So yeah, just basic pawns with some dice. I'll still list these. People like to make their own board games. Someone might know what game that these replace with, like replacements for. These end up going for $8.99 to repeat buyer. All right, moving along, we got a combo order right here. They paid they paid all separately. It's like 10, 20, 30. It's like $44 and some change. So they got a bunch of the World War II micro armor tank hulls, just the bases, the hulls. I got a huge box of this stuff. It took like a week or so to go through. And when I first listed them, a lot of people told me that these weren't worth it. Here's some turrets right here for the tank. So they probably paired them up with some, but like I had like a couple hundred listings, maybe more of these things, and they've been selling as the little lots. I basically just paired up all the tank bases, the holes with the same type, and then all the turrets with the same type. And then I made some like big generic lots with like the excess stuff right here, because people that played World War II micro armor, they're going to know what these are. So yeah, like I said, this was what, like 42 something change. It's like 5 of these baggies. I still have a ton of that stuff. The person reached out and they bought some stuff from us before, and they asked nicely again if we do combined shipping. We always combine our shipping, so we definitely said we would. All right, next up is going to be 8 Arkham Horror, the board game. There's also like the living card game. There's Eldritch Horror, Mansions of Madness. There's a lot of stuff. These are just going to be 8 for the expansion, the Dunwich expansion characters. So these are the character standees without the little plastic parts. Those are kind of easy to find anywhere. So it's just that you get 8 characters in the game. The expansion can be pretty expensive. I think it's between, like, I briefly looked. I got parts for Arkham Horror, and it took like a day to organize them and list them. I did this like a couple days ago. So getting a sale from it already is great. But yeah, this ended up going for $4.89. It's just the little characters. I had I think I made like 30 or so listings with some incomplete Arkham Horror stuff. But I think like the complete expansion could be like 150, 100, something like that. A lot of the old Fantasy Flight game stuff from like the 2005 era, maybe even like 2010, all that stuff. A lot of the games and the promos and expansions are worth a good amount. All right. They were just a good board game company, and then at some point they disassembled, or I think they're still around, but I think a lot of the employees that like made the company are all like, you know, gone, different jobs and stuff like that. So even though the company still exists, like I keep an eye out for the vintage stuff. I also liked a lot of their games. All right, enough rambling about that. We have these Fate Forge monster standee tokens. So these are going to be for role-playing game stuff. These are just little fantasy creatures. These are really novel compared to miniatures. You get like a nice little standee, put a little base on the bottom. I've sold bases to these particular standees and stuff. Maybe not this brand, but you can kind of use any plastic, or there's like black ones as well that like Pathfinder has. But yeah, people will use the standees. Sometimes they just don't want to have miniatures, and sometimes these are just kind of like a really vintage look to them, even though they're not vintage. So not everyone has to be painting miniatures and building them. These are easy to store. You pop them out. If they get damaged, not a big deal. Where if like a miniature gets damaged, you might have to glue it, or it might be damaged where you can't repair it anymore. But yeah, these end up going for $17.14. There's 16 of these particular sheets right here. A lot of the price goes into the shipping for that one, but people do like using the standees and using them. All right, next up is going to be C3I Magazine. There's like, I think 32 of these magazines. They come up with a bunch of these inserts for like board games, updates, extra tokens. So these are for Washington's War, the game. These are 2 player aids, one for the American, one for the British, and then there was like 14 of these counters that would come in the magazines. These magazines had a lot of inserts and stuff. Someone said they appreciated me listing these because they were keeping an eye out for this particular stuff. So this sold for $8.81. This is not the whole magazine. It's just, like I said, a little extra reference sheets and stuff like that and the little tokens. All right, moving along, we have 2 historical books. We got the Fighting Techniques of the Medieval World, and then the other one I paired it up with is the Oriental World. So I got a bunch of these like military, historical, political, just like that kind of war books like a long time ago. I find them often, the books are obviously heavy, but there was one time we like did a full car full of them as well. It's just kind of like the CDs, different situation. But yeah, I remember I was afraid we were going to like put too much wear and tear in the car when we had to like Google how much weight could our car handle because we put like a bunch of books in it. But yeah, these 2 hardcover coffee table books went for $9.26. These books are like books just in general for our shop has been our top category, or in the top 5 for since we've started. So it's a fun category, easy to list, and people read them, appreciate them. I've been getting into reading again. I read the A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms by it's the Game of Thrones one. They started a TV show, but I don't want to wait like a couple years to see what the season 2 and 3 will be for the show. So I read that. And then I started reading Fire and Blood. And then I read another book, or I started reading another book, How to Win the Bachelor, because I used to watch a lot of that stuff with Annette. And so like that was just an interesting one. So yeah, I've been reading more. So I know I understand people appreciate it. All right, next up is going to be Warhammer 40K. These are going to be Necrons. These are going to be Deathmark figures. I had 2 batches of these. I got like a vintage Necron collection. It was like semi-okay painted. I got them from my buddy where I get like anime stuff, and the other Warhammer stuff, he did not paint them. I think it was his brother or something that had these Necrons that he didn't want anymore. But they had some of like the green rod, so like they were older figures. So yeah, these end up going for $55.99 for these ones. All right, next up, I finally grabbed it before shooting the video right here for the channel. But I have a bunch of these Dr. Seuss shirts. We got them for free. I think it's from Annetta's mom or something. So this one's a medium. This is Horton. Horton, here's a who right there. I still remember like a quote from this. I don't know why. I said what I meant, and I meant what I said. An elephant is faithful 100. No, I said it wrong. I said it wrong. It's okay. All right. I'm okay, everyone. I promise. It's been a long few months. $7.87 for this one. All right. My brain is jumbled, honestly. All right. Next up is going to be IL-2 Sturmovik. World War II Combat Simulator PC box game right here. I like all the box PC games. The bigger box ones do better with the manual and stuff. Still, people like these simulation games. They like the strategy ones, the tactics ones, the fantasy ones. People collect a lot of PC games. Still, $10.49. I remember there was like a time where a lot of like the Red Alert stuff got put on Steam for digital, and then like it was really expensive to buy digital. So we had some physical copies. So people were just buying the physical copies because they're still good as long as you have like a CD drive to play them, or you can buy an external one. So I know people play a bunch of these PC games. All right. Next up is going to be Warhammer Underworlds. This one is going to go international. These are just the rival decks. This is going to be a part of Warhammer where you play on this hex gridded, kind of like a board. It's almost like a board game for Warhammer. You'll still have a little squad. There might be 4 miniatures. There might be 8 or 9. It depends on the faction you pick. This is the Dreppers Wraith Creepers. There you go. I think I said that right. So this is their little rivals deck. There's also extra cards that come in these box sets where you can like interchange your deck, but you're using the cards for your characters as well as to play like powers and abilities and stuff to affect the board, and you're trying to do territory control over objectives. $10 for this particular deck. I had a ton of these cards. I still have some more to go through. They're kind of harder for me to go through and organize because I just got I got a big box where it was just like they were thrown in, and if anyone knows cards, just seeing like a big box with just like thousands of cards thrown in, you know, all over the place, not organized. Takes a while to go through. I did go through a lot of it, but there's still a little bit more I have to do. I'm going to wait until some more sells until I organize that. I like to switch categories when I'm listing too much, maybe 1 or 2 days of the same thing. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to change it up and go to some other stuff because I have plenty of stuff to go through and list. All right, next up is going to be this. AF Visuals. This is going to be the M3 Lee tank right here. Like I said, I like to get particular books that are on specific tanks or historical battles or people or places. This one I'm going for $7.35. All right, Next up is a Choose Your Own Adventure book. Real life game books, Blazing Beacons, the Spanish Armada. I noticed that we got a couple of these real life game books. They were pretty good. This one is going to be based off of history, so but then you get to make your own choices and maybe change like some outcomes. But yeah, this one ended up going to repeat buyer for $20.99 for this one. All right. Next up is going to be a lots of these like acrylic little bases, as well as with some clear. These are both clear. I think there might be magnets in there as well. These were like not branded, so I couldn't figure out the brand. So I just, put the dimensions of the rod and then the standee. And I think these are kind of meant to use as flight stands. So when you're playing a miniature game, let's say if you're like a jet or like whatever spaceship or something that's flying, you like either glue it on or you can use magnets. There's different ways you can do it. Sometimes the miniatures themselves, like the Star Trek Attack Wing, have a little hole on the bottom so you can put in these clear rod pegs. These sold for $13.99. All right. Next up is going to be Risk 1993 red player pieces. There's 60 pieces in a player set for most of the Risks right here. This is the one with like the small cannons, the cavalry rider like with their hands on the saddle, and then you have the little infantry like kneeling with his little bayonet rifle. So yeah, people like to get different types of pieces from the different years. There's like the Roman numerals. There's a bunch of offshoots of Risks, kind of like how Monopoly has a bunch of offshoots. And then people like the pieces. Sometimes like they want to have big battles, custom games, or they just want to get more. These end up going for $6.99 for repeat buyer. I still have a ton of Risk pieces. I got that from the box where I had them all listed, and I forgot how many I had. And I've sold a good amount recently. So I don't know what's going on recently where I've been selling more of them. They are a slow seller, but because there's, a lot of different Risk pieces out there that people can pick up. All right. Last up for the day is going to be Orleans. I haven't played this particular board game. I think this might be an expansion. This is the Invasion expansion. This is going to be along the realms of the Euro games where you like usually have some workers, you put them on a spot, which usually will like, you put it here, you collect some resource. You put it here, you get to build something, and you're working towards victory points. And then there was like just a ton of them that were made, I want to say like early 2000s. I mean, they're still made to this day, but they were like really popular then with Agricola was a popular one. But yeah, this is just an expansion. I never played New Orleans, and then this is one of the expansions. This is incomplete, though, so it doesn't have everything. $9.41 for this one. Would have gone for more if it had all the pieces, but people do like these Euro games. I played a couple, pretty good. I never found too many people that enjoy them. Like, Annetta doesn't like Euro games and stuff, so like you can play these solo. They have solo rules, but it's just not as fun as solo. All right, that's everything. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hope everyone's having a good week so far.